Thank you very much, Lali. Today we have all the development agencies of the Eastern Cape coming together, trying to explore ways of collaborating. The agencies have got specific mandates. However, they are dealing with the same issue of driving Eastern Cape's economic development, if I may put it that way. What we're focusing on today is to finding ways in which we can derive synergies in the work that we do. Some agencies have specific geographical mandates, like for example the LIDZ and the Buffalo City Metro Development Agency. Others have got a province-wide kind of mandate. What's key is what are those things that an agency cannot achieve success acting alone. So the synergies equation, one plus one is bigger than two. That's what we're focusing on. And the big drive of this is around acceleration, accelerating development, making sure that of the same pools of funding, we can achieve more. I make the example. Some of the agencies are in different parts of the province, yet the funding agencies like the ECRDA in terms of rural finance as well as ECDC don't have footprint all over. Why is it that an agency that sits in Mount Elif cannot be the catchment point for SMEs who want to originate loans or grants working with ECDC? So these are the things that looks pretty obvious. But until you get the leaders in the room to understand what needs to be done to actually have a much more bigger impact, they will not happen. And today, leadership of the development agency are looking at how do we collaborate, how do we give a bit of license to executives to work across agency without abandoning their mandates. The key thing is accelerating economic growth, having a much more bigger impact. A lot has come out of today. So in terms of some of the challenges certain agencies are facing, which actually can be resolved by just working with another next door. So it's quite a significant occasion for us to get, as a first step, to get more efficiencies and acceleration. So that's the context of today, and I think a lot of conversation have happened. Agencies have identified lead projects that they feel they could do better if they work with another agency, and the report will come out of at the end of the discussion today. So I thought, Larry, that kind of explains why we're here, why is it important. It's also important because when you do planning, you use the construct of time and space. So you plan a project in a particular geography, but various agencies may sequence their intervention in terms of a different timeline. By just pulling together those timelines, if an agency was going to do a project in 2025, if you could just pull it back, pull it forward to be in line with the other three that are doing it in 2024, the mass social impact there will be a mass social impact. So we're looking at what are those kind of levers we can pull without asking for new money. How can we tap into each other's skills pool? Because agencies are endowed with different skill sets, so that we can actually have a much more bigger impact in the economy. So it's less about just coordination. It's more on collaboration for impact. Very targeted key projects that will move the needle in the Eastern Cape economy. So that's the context of today.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I would just like to point out that the session that we conducted here this morning was a particularly productive one, to the extent that the goal is to enable the state entities that operate in this province to engage collaboratively for what I would call mutual beneficiation in our pursuit of the project of enhancing socio-economic development in the province, and by extension in South Africa, because we are a component of the global universe that we operate within. Our universe is South Africa, although we are located in the larger international space, which impacts on our efforts to address the triple challenges that South Africa has identified as priorities in terms of mitigation, in terms of ultimate eradication. So we believe that this initiative, which emanated from the chair of the ECDC, which some chairs had in fact talked about without actually implementing. I think we are pleased that we have reached this point, and yeah, I think this is likely to unleash heightened, delivery in our respective, well, as a collective of state entities. Thank you.
Who birthed the idea? Mr. Chahan birthed the idea. We are here today because he thought it, he dreamt it, he put it to life. So I do want that to be put on record, that we would not be here had he not thought about it and did something about it. And I think it goes to show that he really thinks like a businessman. He sees the Eastern Cape as a business. He thinks, he acts. And we are really very lucky as the Eastern Cape to have him as part of working towards the development of our province. And what I have taken out of today, over and above what has been said, is that it's always been said that the right hand must not know what the left hand is doing. That has proven not to work. The right hand must always know what the left hand is doing. That is exactly what today has provided to us. It has helped us to understand what each one is doing. It has allowed us to have a bird's eye view of where we all fit into this puzzle of the Eastern Cape development. Working in silos has proven not to work. And today is meant, if there's anything that you can take away from today, is that today is meant for us to know what each one is doing. Then everything else flows from there. When I know what Kucha is doing, when I know what ECRDA is doing, and I know what I'm doing, then I can be able to go to my sister and my brother and to say, I need your assistance here. This is where I think I can assist you. I think that's what today is about, in the simplest of forms. And then the other thing I have taken out of today is the fact that we each then understood, because we were honest, we had honest conversations. We didn't each come here and say, I'm running the best entity. Everything is all good, it's all perfect. We were honest enough to say, this is what we're doing, this is what we're supposed to be doing, this is where we are falling short, this is where we think we need assistance. We were brutally honest. And that has actually allowed us to see where we can tap, whose strengths we can tap into, so we can develop our own in our own entities. Also, it has allowed us to see possible areas of duplication, because when you know what your neighbor's doing and you know what you're doing, you can then see if you're actually duplicating effort. For instance, if I can just quote an example, it was mentioned when Dinga was doing their presentation. It was mentioned that yes, CDC are into renewables, ELIDZ also renewables. So for OR Tambo, it did come that something that needs to be looked into is that Kocha and ELIDZ should not tap into their own space, but maybe rather we can find ways of collaborating so that there's no duplication of effort. It was just one of the examples that came through. Not to say that is what is happening, but it allows us to see what the other is doing, so that if you yourself are going to do the same, you can go to those that have already started, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can get guidance from them and improve from there. So I think in the main, that is what today has assisted us with, over and above what my colleagues have said. Thank you very much.
I'd like to reiterate what my colleagues said and thank Mr. Jachana for doing this. He contacted us about a year ago, and I'm very glad to see it's come to fruition. I would like to therefore, on behalf of Kocha, thank you, Inkosi Kakulu, Tata, for doing this. He asked for 3 banner line or 3 catalytic projects to tackle our massive problems of unemployment and economic development. And today, from the various entities, both local and we also heard some national like the IDC, we heard about many exciting collaborative projects. And I underline that what he really wants is the 1 and 1 equals 3, 4, 5. That they're collaborative. Unfortunately, some projects weren't collaborative, they were agency specific, but by far the majority were exciting, they were collaborative, and a lot can be done, or more importantly, many of them would release the productive forces, create employment and wealth in our province. The next is more difficult. Where do we go from here? What are the next steps? And I'm going to ambush ECDC and Mr. Jachana, but we need some entity to take this to the next step. Some entity to actually filter all of these fantastic proposals we've had, and then to start grabbing those heads and shoving them together and saying, okay, you proposed this, these are the other players, start moving. And as he said, without new money, because it's been made very clear by National Treasury and Provincial Treasury, don't come with your begging bowl. With what we're doing is sweating current assets. That's what we're doing. So that's my contribution, and I'm sorry for ambushing you.
Thank you so much. As the chairperson of the Mandela Bay Development Agency, we truly are very honoured to be here today. One of the very profound statements the chairperson of ECDC made today, and such an eye-opener for me as chairperson, is that the 1 + 1 synergy can never be a 2. You can never be on your own. So this collaboration opportunity for us as a development agency, we really embrace it, because we've already identified 3 opportunities. I mean, one is just our neighbours down the road, which we never even thought of. But because of this opportunity today, we've recognized, and we're really looking forward to this opportunity to go back to our homes and implement what we have been given the opportunity for today. So I really would want to say thank you to the chairperson of ECDC for him to allow us this opportunity, because it's a first for the Mandela Bay Development Agency to be part of such a great opportunity. Thank you.